So we have already gridded our illustration board to be an 8 by 8 inch square with a 1 by 1 inch grid, and then marked the grid every 1 inch. So then you can draw your lines, and that's how you get your grid. And then you've chosen your paint colors. Now I've also labeled each lid of our paint boxes so you know exactly where to put the paints when you clean up. So everything is organized, everything is labeled, so you can put the paints right back in the exact spot so it's easy to find for the next class and for me later. So it corresponds exactly with the tubes in the box. Now you've also chosen 6 colors and 2 neutral colors and should have labeled each side of your grid to correspond with the other. So starting at the bottom left, you see I've written titanium white, and then it corresponds with the bottom one, titanium white. Ivory black, primary blue, and then phthalo green and phthalo green, right? So phthalo green is the fifth box up. It's also going to be the 5th box over. So you want those to correspond with each other. Now before you get any paint out, you want to make sure you have your materials. You have a can of water, a pretty small paintbrush, and a paper towel along with your mixing tray. You want to use a relatively small brush like the one I have in my hand here, so it's easier to fill in the small squares. Remember, before you start painting, you want to get your brush moistened, so dunk it in your water, dry it out a little bit on your paper towel, and then you can get started. So now I'm going to start filling in my grid, right, and mixing my paint colors together. So I'm going to start with ultramarine blue and cadmium yellow light hue. The ultramarine is going to be my first color, and as you can see, like I'm doing here, I'm only putting down a really small dab of blue paint, and then I'm going to put down the exact same amount of yellow. So you see I'm putting down the same amount of yellow as the blue, so not too much, just a little dab. If you look really close, it's a little tiny amount, less than a thumbnail size, probably closer to a pinky nail size, even less than that, because remember, you only need to paint 2 squares, okay? So you've got 50% ultramarine and 50% cadmium yellow light hue. So now you're going to just moisten your paintbrush, wipe off the excess water, and give your 2 colors a good mix. Really, really blend them together until you get a nice mixture, a nice even blend. So you can't see any yellow or any blue. All you see is the blue-yellow combination. Now this is kind of like a greeny color, brown color. And then you just locate the square on your table where it's appropriate to go. So you line up ultramarine with the cadmium yellow hue light and find it square and then paint it in. Now, one thing that's going to make this go a little faster is knowing that you're going to actually paint your colors in 2 different squares. So if you look where I'm pointing right now, I'm locating both sections where it's ultramarine and they're meeting right there. So that square would be ultramarine and ultramarine. The square I just painted is ultramarine and cadmium yellow, and then that square that my right hand is touching right now is also ultramarine and cadmium yellow. So you are actually going to paint the mixture of these 2 colors in 2 locations. So just to make things move a little faster and so you don't waste paint, you can paint in both of those squares at the same time, and then it'll help you fill your grid right up. Once you are done with that kind of 2 square combo, you move on to the next color combo, and then you find those. And then once you're done painting everything or class is over, you're going to put all your tubes back in the appropriate slots in the box, put the lid back on it, and put it back on the stack over on top of the black table. Remember, there is that grid on the back of the box cover to help you put things back in the right place.